Hi docents, here is the new script for the tour. I wanted to mention first about the photos. The photos are simply here to enhance and engage the audience. They're not meant to take away from the immersive part. They're only helping to have the audience get an image of what is going on. So we want you to reference each photo, but you do not have to spend time talking about the photo, what's in the photo. You don't have to read the title. We just want you to, when you're saying, referencing the specific topic of the photo, pick it up and show it to the audience and then put it down. Simple as that. And you feel free to freestyle about the photo. You don't have to, like I said, go into great detail, but do whatever feels most natural to you on your tour. But again, these are not meant to throw off the flow. They are simply just referencing as you mention things throughout the tour. So with that said, I'll go ahead and start with the immersive part of the tour and what it's going to look like referencing the photos. Now, before I do that, the frame should be close to the railroad track tape. Don't worry about it too much. Staff will hopefully take care of this, but if for some reason the stand is somewhere else, go ahead and kind of leave it in the center of the room as close to the tape as possible so that people have room to move around this and that everybody in the boxcar or the audience can see this. So I'll go ahead and get started now. So, everyone, welcome to the museum. If you can get into the space of this rectangle here. Now, I want you to guess what this space is right here. Yes, this is the size of a boxcar. So I want you to keep that in mind as we travel back in time. So now we are going to travel back in time, back to 1945. And you can either close your eyes, look down, but I want you to imagine about this time period and go on this journey with me. So imagine it's the middle of the night, there's a loud knock on your door, soldiers yelling to get up, to get out. You have a couple minutes to get your things and to get out. You follow these soldiers, you have no idea where you're going, you don't know what's going on. Then you go on a short journey and you end up at a ghetto or a brickyard, a really desolate and dark place holding for Jews. And here is a photo of a ghetto, Warsaw Ghetto. You can see the condition here. Now the conditions of these ghettos were so bad that when a train came to pick people up, they happily got on it because they thought the conditions would be better wherever they were going. So they left the ghetto and they were loaded onto a boxcar. Now these boxcars had no windows, no ventilation, no air, and of course, no sanitation. There was a bucket in the corner for people to use as a toilet. There was anywhere between 100 to 150 people within the boxcar. Imagine being shoulder to shoulder, ear to ear with people in really hot weather or really cold weather within a boxcar. And sometimes the journey would take 3 to 4 days long. Of course, you can imagine that not everybody survived this journey. Like I said, there's no food, water, air. A lot of the young and a lot of the old did not survive this 4-day journey. Now, when you arrived to destination, which was a concentration camp, you heard music playing, giving you the false impression that this was a welcoming environment, that this is going to be a good place to be. You hear an orchestra playing, and you look around and you see, okay, this place might be okay after all. So you see the orchestra. This is a photo of the actual Auschwitz orchestra. Then you are met with a soldier. The soldier takes your information. He takes your name, where you're from, and perhaps any special skills that you had. Now, if you had a special skill, like playing music, you could have been saved and put into the orchestra. Or if you had a job in science, or a doctor, or teacher, or things like that, that could have saved you. But this was the start to the dehumanization process. The minute you gave up your name was the last time that you were known by that name. You were then assigned a number. And you reference over here, A4685, Mel's number. You were no longer your name, you were a number. After that, you were told to give up your things. Do you know what this is a photo of? This is a photo of wedding rings. Every 2 wedding rings represents a family torn apart. So you gave up your name, your possessions, and something else. For the sake of the video, I'm just going to reference over here. You gave up, do you know what this photo is? It's human hair. You gave up your hair. Your head was shaved, 1, to prevent lice, but 2, to further dehumanize you and for the hair to be reused in submarine insulation. Now, after you were dehumanized in these 3 areas, you were given something. You were given that, a uniform. Now, these uniforms were never laundered. They weren't great to wear in the winter or the summer, but everybody received a uniform. And on that uniform, you can see that there is a star. The yellow beneath represents Jew, and the red on top represents political prisoner. Now, the Jews weren't the only ones in the concentration camps. There were Roma gypsies, there were homosexuals, there were Jehovah's Witnesses, there were many different groups, but of course, Jews being the largest group. Now, once you received your uniform, you were then put into these selection lines. So we're going to separate the room now, and we're going to have you in 2 lines. So this selection line, you were met with a doctor, somebody you never knew, and he takes about 30 seconds to look you up and down and sort you into 1 of 2 lines. Do you know what he's looking for? Yeah, he's looking if you can work, if you're fit enough to work. So these lines would represent 1 of 2 fates. Now, here's when you reference the passports. So you talk about the passports, you talk about Ida, and then you talk about Magda. You pass them out to each side. And then we talk about the 2 fates that these girls could have met. So 1 is hard labor. Now, when you were working hard labor, your most important possession was this. What do you think this is? Yes, that's a soup pot. You were given not much food every single day, of course. Do you think people were eating 3 meals a day? No. Do you think they were eating steak dinners? No. They were given something called sand soup. It was a root vegetable, water, and sand just to fill the stomach. Now, when they were fed these meals, they were lucky to get 1 meal a day, and these meals would be about 200 to 300 calories each. Do you know how many calories we consume a day now? Yes, about 1,500 to 2,000 calories. So imagine working 12 to 16 hours a day and only eating 200 to 300 calories. Now, this possession was so important to them, the prisoners would use them as pillows. You can see in this photo, the prisoners are using the soup bowls as pillows. They did that because if the food bowl was stolen, they would wake up. Now, do you think if you lost your food bowl, you would still get fed? No. So that's hard labor. That's the first fate that you would have been met with. Now, the second fate you would have been met with is you were told you were going to take a shower. You get in a line, you undress with thousands of other people, hundreds of other people, and you're given even a piece of soap. You walk into a large room, you see shower heads on the ceiling, and do you think water is coming out of these shower heads? No. You're right, this is the gas chamber. Now, the gas chamber itself could eliminate about 1,500 people within 9 to 10 minutes. They would suffocate. This is what the inside of the gas chamber looked like in Dachau. You can see the shower heads on the ceiling here. Now, when the gas was released, it was called Zyklon B, which you can see over here. Originally, there was something called Zyklon A, which was used as a pesticide. Then the Nazis made Zyklon B, which was odorless pesticide, and those were the pellets that were used in the gas chamber. Now, after the gas chamber, you were sent to the crematorium, and this is a piece of crematorium number 5, where Mel's sisters and mother were cremated. And those are the two fates you most likely would have met at a concentration camp. Now we're going to go over the passports, and we're going to share the fates of Ida and Magda. You know these stories already, so I'm not going to go over them, but this is the place where you reference those passports. Now, after you go over the passports, of course, you talk about By Bread Alone with Mel, and then you go into the court case. Now, with the court case, I want you to talk about the court case and give that whole history, and then when you get to the part about the Never Forget film, you can walk around and show them this is a scene from the Never Forget film, and this is the poster of the film here. And you can just stand here and go like this, and then down. Then when you start talking about Mel's artwork, when you get to the Black Hammer piece, and that's where you start talking about how Mel took it all over Europe, you could reference this photo here with the electrical fence posts. After that, you are done referencing the photos, and what you can do is you can put all the photos back here for people to come and flip through on their own. And that is it. And like I said, for the sake of the video, I didn't move around much because the camera couldn't capture everything, but of course throughout the tour, I want you moving around, and I want you pointing to the different artifacts. And throughout the tour, these are just the visual aids that you are referencing. We don't want to draw too much attention to the photos. We will allow people at the end of the tour, when they're exploring the museum, to look at these in more depth if they would like to. So, like I said, do what feels more natural and organic to you. This is the way that felt most organic to me, but the bottom line is we want you to reference these photos at the different points or stops in the tour where these are referenced, if that makes sense. So we want to visualize more, we want to help the audience imagine and visualize more, and this is what's going to help them do that, and it's going to keep them engaged. It's really hard to keep students engaged, so we hope that this will be a good aid for them. So if you have any questions, let me know, let Michael know, and we'll help you. And if you want to try this out at any time, please do. And like I said, do whatever feels best to you, but we definitely want you to use these photos as best you can throughout the tour. Now we have brought everybody back after they have explored the museum, and we're going to share the last story, the shoe story. So after the shoe story, once you talk about it, you have to include at the very end that the Holocaust didn't start with the grand opening of Auschwitz or the concentration camps. The Holocaust started with hurtful words against Jews. Then it evolved into hurtful literature, hurtful laws, hurtful propaganda, and then the concentration camps at the end. Now with this story, the whole point is you can take away the power of your words. When you use your words, you can prevent something like this from ever happening again. And that's what we want to give you on your way out here. And we want to feel like you can do something about this and you can prevent something like this from ever happening again. Thank you so much for your time and attention on the tour. And if you enjoyed the tour, please bring back your family and friends, leave us a review on Yelp and Google, and give us a follow on our Instagram and Facebook. Thank you. I also wanted to make mention of this photo that we're already using. We're gonna now put this on the stand as well, so you don't have to walk over and grab it. It's already gonna be in here for you. You just have to remember to grab it twice. Once during the food bowl section, and then the second time when you're talking about By Bread Alone and referencing Elie Wiesel.